30 years. It's hard to believe. We've had 30 years of costumed teenagers with attitude fighting to protect our world from all kinds of evils and protecting the galaxy from whatever dark forces may lurk and try to destroy it. You know, sometimes it feels like only yesterday that I was waiting for that special day, waiting for my birthday when I could watch one Power Rangers episode, or waiting for that opportunity to go see my cousins because they had the Thunder Megazord and I wanted to play with it. Or, and I'll admit this, sneaking a watch of that original Power Rangers movie and having my buddy say, oh, I'll just say I wanted to watch it, just so I wouldn't get in trouble for it. Hard to believe. It's been 30 years. 30 years of some great shows, some okay shows, some series that we just were like, that wasn't great. Characters that we've come to love. Villains that we've come to love to hate. Memorable theme songs, memorable morphs. Everything in between. So, with it being 30 years of Power Rangers, the question might come up, what team's the strongest? Well, I'm not going to answer that. The other question might be, well, who would make up the strongest Power Ranger team? Or who would be the strongest team that would be extremely hard to defeat? Well, I've seen over the internet, I've seen over Facebook, I've seen things here on YouTube. Seems like a lot of people are coming up with their own teams, saying, beat my team. Well, I'm not going to tell you to beat my team, but I figure, you know what? I'm a Power Ranger fan. I've thought about this before. So why not? Let's jump on the team bandwagon and create my ultimate Power Ranger fighting force. Now, this one was hard because the fan in me, wants to say, I want this character, I want that character, I want that character, I want that character. But I really wanted to try and put that aside. Now, that's not to mean that some bias did slip in a little bit, but I tried to really just hunker down and think about the characters and the things involved around them as a character or a person, around their season. Try to take my own biases out of it. Now, that's not to say that somewhere down the line, maybe I won't do a quick video of my own biased team of, you know what, I don't care if they're strong, I don't care if they're the strongest member or the weakest member. I'm going to do the team that I would like to have because they're the coolest in my opinion, or one of the coolest. But I really wanted to try and do a team that I really thought would be the strongest and toughest to beat. Now, everybody has their own opinions, and that's great. You can go ahead and leave yours and your thoughts on this team down in the comments section, and let me know what yours is when this video is over. But before I start feeling like I'm ending the video right now, we got to start the video. So sit back, relax, and for your consideration, I put together my ultimate Power Rangers team. Before I get into who makes up my powerful Power Rangers team, there are some rules that I considered and looked at while making this list. First and foremost, while a lot of these would end up on my personal Power Ranger team, I took who I love out of consideration and really tried to look at power stat, leadership, abilities, all these things that make up a Power Ranger, and tried to really look at that for every character without really playing favorites. Though I will admit, it's clear that some of these are my favorites, but that's because they are just so good, and I really do think that they are hard to beat just based on canon. Second rule is no Ranger could be from the same season as another Ranger. For example, I could not have, say, Adam from Mighty Morphin as my Black Ranger, and I could not have, say, Cat as my Pink Ranger. That just doesn't happen. Third rule was kind of in line with that. I couldn't pick multiple versions of a character playing the same character but a different Ranger. Which, these are all kind of linked together, I'll admit. But that leads into the next one, which is the Ranger is only as powerful or as knowledgeable as they are from that season. For example, let's look at Catherine. If I said I wanted Mighty Morphin Catherine, then I don't get her experience with the Zeo, and I don't get any of the Turbo stuff she knows. But if I picked Turbo, then yes, I get her knowledge and experience from Zeo and her experience from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Next rule was I really wanted to look at the person as a whole, like I've mentioned before. So the powers, if they have civilian powers, that was not something that really played into my decision. Because if they have them, great, but I wanted to take powers, special abilities out of consideration for this team and look at it as, okay, what if they were just Rangers? So I believe those are all the rules I had in place as I was deciding. Oh, one thing I almost forgot. There is an additional Ranger on this list because my team, the way I did, I said, okay, we're going to have a special 6th Ranger, or in this case, 7th Ranger, because we're going to have red, pink, yellow, blue, black, and green. Because these are the main core colors that they deviate between. Now, before you say anything, yes, they did have white at times, but that was more rare than not. I think that's how you would say it. So white is not a color on this list unless possibly the 6th Ranger. But with all that being said, where should we start this list? Why don't we start off with who I've selected to be my Green Ranger? As I was working my way through this video, I did remember 2 more rules that I had made for myself. And those were, 1, I took into consideration how hard or how tough the villain of the season was. You know, was he one or was she one that seemed like, it didn't really take much to beat him? Were there multiple ones? Did they cycle through villains a lot? You know, or was it a villain that was truly terrifying? And also, does the villain terrify me still? Like, is that character or that group still scary to this day? The other thing I took into consideration as a rule is I have no Mega Force, or Super Mega Force, I should say, on this list. Because Super Mega Force could transform into any Ranger. So, in my mind, that's just cheating. So yes, they definitely were a tough team, and I'm sure a lot of them were really tough Rangers, and they were. But for the purposes of this list, I am not including them because in my mind, being able to access other Rangers and their abilities and stuff, that doesn't make you a great Ranger on your own. So that's why right now I will let you know, as a spoiler, there is no Super Mega Force Rangers on this list. So for my Green Ranger, everybody is probably going to say, oh, he picked Tommy. Everybody picks Tommy. It's always the Green Dragon Ranger. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is always Tommy. And you could be right. But when taking all the other rules I put in, all the considerations, trying to really think about it, my Green Ranger is Joel, the Green Lightspeed Ranger. And here's why he makes the list. Yeah, he's cocky and funny, which you gotta have some humor in your team. But he also has the ability to, he has that extra armor. I forget what the armor's called that he and Blue have. So you get the bonus of him having that armor if you need it. He's got great aerial skills. He's a pilot, so you get that ability of a character who can fly really well, who knows how to pilot ships. And he proved throughout the series that, yeah, he's one that might be headstrong at times, might just think everything's a joke and a party. But he proved over time that he was a very strong Ranger, and he had the abilities and the drive to defeat the ancient evils, the ancient demons that were plaguing our world again. And honestly, he had what I would consider he had a tough enemy to fight, him and the Lightspeed Rangers. I'm kicking myself because now, of course, I'm going to not feel like a real Power Ranger fan because the names just escape me as to who all the demons were. Vipra was one, I do remember that. But these were some tough villains. And when you line them up when compared to other villains that we got down the line, or even, well, more villains that came down the line, they were some pretty tough contenders. And I mean, they had magic, they had just all these skills, and they were pure evil. That for Joel to be able to fight these things with really no extra abilities, but just his natural skills and the abilities that he got from being a Ranger, that puts him as a very tough character and Ranger, in my opinion. So that's why for my Green Ranger, I choose Joel from Lightspeed Rescue. So next, we're going to look at my Yellow Ranger. Now this one was really hard for me to decide because there are a lot of Yellow Rangers that are really strong, great fighters with some really great abilities, and who would work perfectly or just be fantastic to have on this team. And my decision is not meant to put any of those down. As a matter of fact, this one might not actually have made my favorite team list that I would have put together, but all things considered, my Yellow Ranger is Maya from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Now right off the bat, Maya is very athletic, not just in the suit but outside of it. She grew up on the jungle planet of Miranoi, which means she was swinging through the trees, she was jumping, running with animals, she's very athletic. And that's a great attribute to have as a Ranger. Another attribute that she has from the beginning is being able to connect with the animals, or more specifically, the Galactipees. Now there are other seasons, primarily the one I can think of is Wild Force, where the Rangers are able to connect with animals and communicate with them. But Maya is she's able to do it from basically birth, because she's just invested in that. She's trained in that. She believes in communing with nature. So she has a very strong connection, not just, again, with the animals and the galactic beasts, but with nature as a whole, which means she just, in my opinion, makes a great ranger, and she's the one that can help this team not only navigate whatever type of terrain they might be on, but she's the one that can get them help, possibly from animals or someplace else if they need it. Now, the other big thing about Maya is she's got the Quasar Saber. Now, the Quasar Saber is I would have to say, is one of the most powerful weapons in Power Rangers lore. I mean, this is the item. These were the sabers that Scorpionox, I can't remember, and his daughter and everybody, they were after these weapons. So that alone shows just how powerful they are, how valuable they are. And to be able to wield one of these and for it to choose you, that's a big, big deal. It seems like you have to be pure of heart to be chosen by these weapons. So that alone, for me, shows why Maya is a great and much needed addition to this team. So, for my Yellow Ranger, again, is Maya from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. And the Black Ranger has also been some of the best and some of the most well-known characters in all of Power Rangers. Whether you've got the original with Zach Taylor in Mighty Morphin, or Adam then becoming Black Ranger, or you got Carlos for In Space, or many, many more after him. The Black Ranger is always, somehow he's one of the coolest Rangers in any given season. And for me, I thought, I'm gonna have a hard time picking a Black Ranger, because I couldn't use some of the ones that I know people would love, because I was using other seasons. Spoiler alert, kind of. Or they just didn't quite measure up to this team overall. So I was stuck with, I thought, only two. And I admit, this was where my bias started to take over a little bit, because I'm like, I have to pick between these two, but they're in two of my least favorite seasons. And then a light bulb went off and I smacked myself, because I'm like, why did I not remember this? Why did this totally slip my mind? And I think it's because I wasn't expecting to get to use this character at all. Which, if you haven't figured it out by now, then apparently you haven't watched Power Rangers, because my Black Ranger is Dr. Tommy Oliver from Power Rangers Dino Thunder. Yes, Tommy made his way on this list, and it's only right, because he's one of the strongest and coolest characters in all of Power Rangers. He's the one that many, almost all fans love, either as their favorite Ranger or just in general, they love him. And the best part about using Tommy Oliver as the Black Ranger is I get the experience of the Green Ranger, the experience of the White Ranger, the leadership and experience of being Zeo Red and Zeo Turbo. I get all that experience. And I get the ability that he has in his civilian form of going invisible. Now, did they use that a lot? No. And yes, I know I said abilities was not something I was considering, and I didn't. That's a bonus I get, because Tommy doesn't need it. He does not need that ability
to prove just how great of a ranger he's been. He's taken on Rita. He's gotten over her mind control. He's taken on Lord Zed. He's taken on the Machine Empire. He took on Divatox. And now he's taking on Mesogog as Dino Thunder Black. I mean, what more do I really need to say about Tommy that I'm sure you guys, especially if you've watched Power Rangers, which I'm assuming if you're watching this video you have, it's a no kidding, it's a no duh thing. We all know he's fought some of the toughest villains in all of Power Ranger lore. And we know he has the experience. We know he's got the abilities, the karate skills, the leadership skills. And as the Brachio Ranger, he has his Brachio Saber. Brachio Staff, which has multiple attacks of its own. I mean, what more do I need to say? If you can get Tommy on your team, you get Tommy on your team. Okay, clearly there's some continuity issues here. I mean, one minute it's dark out and the next it's light. One minute I have a jacket on and the next I don't. You know, we really got to work on these transitions from American footage to Super Sentai footage. I mean, or it could just be the fact that there was a more phenomenal sized problem I had to deal with. And whatever the case, let's get back to the list and talk about who I chose for my Blue Ranger. Now, this one for me was a no-brainer. No one even came close to this choice. Because in my mind, there is only one Blue Ranger who could take this spot. There's only one Blue Ranger who has the intelligence to not only be a ranger, but to find ways to solve problems. He's the only guy that is a true tech genius as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, he's just the best of the best as far as I'm concerned. I said I'm concerned a lot. But that, of course, is Billy Cranston, the Mighty Morphin Blue Ranger. Now, I could be really, really picky and be like, oh, I'm going to go season 1 or I'm going to be season 2. But, you know, I'm just going to cover Mighty Morphin overall. And we'll just stop when he's not the Blue Ranger anymore at the end of season 3. Billy, like I mentioned, is the smartest, brightest, most intelligent, though sometimes you do have to wonder just how smart he is with some of the ways he handles things. He's the one that grows the most from the beginning. He's the one that really comes into his own as a ranger. But he really is the guy that if it wasn't for him, the Rangers, honestly, the Rangers wouldn't have half the gear they have. Now, of course, later on in Zeo, he's the one that helps build the Zords. But since we don't have him from Zeo, he's had 3 seasons, maybe a couple, maybe it's more than 3 years of battles and training and gadgets he's built. Whether that was simply, well, not so simple for us, but whether that was the communicators, the radbug, you know, just all the scientific equipment and gadgets he came up with over the years to help stop Rita, to help stop Zed, to take on Master Vile, to restore the Rangers, or at least his normal age. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he is the smartest character in all of Power Rangers. I can't think of one who can match him, especially when it's in blue, when they're in blue. Now, I know 1 or 2 ones that people might try to argue with me on, but I'm sorry. Billy is number 1. He's the smartest character there is. He is the best Blue Ranger. I mean, David Yost came back for the special. So technically, if I really wanted, I could take that Blue Ranger. But I'm just looking at the past 30 years of the show. I mean, Billy, like I said, like I keep saying, he's got the brains, he's got the smarts, he's got the intelligence, he knows how to handle himself, he's got the fighting skills eventually, and he's just a very loyal, true friend. And yeah, the Rangers, as far as I'm concerned, they'd be lost without him. So that's why there's no doubt in my mind that Billy, the Mighty Morphin Blue Ranger, takes that spot. Now it's time to talk about the power of pink. And yes, of course, the fanboy in me would have loved to put Kimberly in this spot, or even Kat, because I just love those characters. But yeah, look at the rules I made for myself, and when you really look at the characters, there's only one Pink Ranger, at least in my mind, who deserves and has to be in this spot. And this is a character that I've seen on a lot of people's lists, which only goes to show just how strong of a Ranger she is. Now, some fans would say she was the leader of her team. Others would say she was the co-lead. Point is, she was a very strong, determined leader. She knew what she wanted. She was set on completing her goals, but she also grew through the mission, through her job, through the duties, learned to trust others. But even with all of that, she was a very strong, very powerful, very go-getter, on the mark. I mean, this is a character who you just did not want to mess with her. She was probably I almost don't want to say the best of her team, because the Sixth Ranger could have been considered really good. But in my mind, she's the only one that, if you're going to create a strong or extremely powerful Power Rangers team, when you put everything aside, this is the character you have to select. And if you haven't figured it out by now, that's Jen Scott, the Time Force Pink Ranger. Jen, I mean, she was a huge, major part of Time Force. She was one of the focal points of that series. She might have had some emotional trauma, but she knew what she wanted. She was a go-getter. She was not afraid to break rules to accomplish what she thought was right. She gave Wes the red Time Force morpher, which she didn't want to do. Everyone else convinced her. And then she realized they needed him and brought him in. She wasn't afraid to go against her, I think it was fiance Alex at the end. She wasn't afraid to go against Time Force and go after Rancic. I mean, she had the soul and the heart, I'm just going to say it, of a warrior, which we did get to see her later on in more of a warrior type garb in the team up with Wild Force. And then we also have to consider the villain. Rancic, yeah, he might have been, quote unquote, a little bit more human than some of the previous, or most of the previous villains that we had in the show. But that made him all the more deadly. He knew how humans thought. But I mean, yes, he was a mutant. Don't get me wrong. I know he was a mutant. But he knew how people thought. He knew what he wanted. And he was willing to go to any extent to get it. To make his dream or his desires happen. And that's why he still is. There's a lot of people who really like Rancic. And Time Force is one of the most popular seasons that I've heard people say, we love that season. That is one of our favorites. And yeah, Jen was a huge part of that. I mean, so for her to have a vendetta against Rancic, but yet be able to maintain her composure overall when dealing with the team, when leading the team, learning how to survive in our time, or what was our time when the show came out. You know, she has adaptive skills. She's able to blend in to her surroundings. Not admittedly, not at first, but I mean, she was the overall best package for a Pink Ranger. And she's got, like I mentioned, she's got the leadership skills. So yes, when we get to our Red Ranger, you'll have the Red Ranger and you'll have your leader. But it never hurts to have a strong second in command. And if you're going to go with anyone, you might as well go with Pink, and you might as well go with Jen Scott. So that's why Jen Scott, Time Force Pink, is on my team. Before we get to our final Ranger and the leader of this team, we got to talk about the special additional 6th, or in this case 7th Ranger of my team. Now the 6th Ranger or 7th or however many there are is always like the coolest looking one. They're the ones that have really cool abilities, their own Zords. They're the ones that have a cool intro. They're the ones that, let's be honest, we look forward to seeing them every season, looking forward to how they show up, what their backstory is, who it is. You know, 6 Rangers are so cool. Maybe I need to do a video about them. Now, what could it be? You know, maybe I'll do the top 10 best first appearances of the 6th Ranger. Look for that video to come some point down the line. Shameless plug. But with all that being said, I had a lot of 6 Rangers, or 7th, 8th, again, a lot of extra Rangers to go through and look and pick from. Now, some, like all these Rangers, you could easily just push aside. You could be like, they don't meet the criteria I need. Their villains aren't great. You know, they're not the best of the best. So, going through the list, you know, I did think a fairly long time about it. But ultimately, again, it was another no-brainer. And for me, my special 6th, 7th Ranger is going to be Jason, the Gold Zeo Ranger. Now, I think this is a pretty obvious one too. Yes, yeah, I would have gone with Tommy. I bet you everybody would have gone with Tommy. But I already put him on the team in another color, so I can't put him again. I already have Mighty Morphin, so I can't do anything from that. But in the canon of Power Rangers, Zeo is the one that a lot of fans will say is the strongest team, or they had some of the strongest powers. Not to mention how they went from Zeo to Turbo was never really explained. But that's another video. There's many videos out there about that topic. You can go look for them. And they're all generally pretty good. But getting off track, back to Jason. Now, I probably could have picked Trey of Triforia, because you get 3 of him there. He is the Gold Ranger. But here's the thing. Jason was the original Red Ranger. He led the Power Rangers. He fought against Rita. He fought against Zed for a while. I mean, he was the one that actually was able to hold his own against Tommy one-on-one. Even though you can't deny, based on the show, Tommy did give him a run for his money when they first met and they first fought. But that's why he's so strong and such a great character, and somebody that if you can get him on your team, you gotta have him there as well. Because not only is he a strong martial artist, which makes him a strong fighter, he's got years of experience through training. He's got the experience of leading the Power Rangers. He's got the experience of fighting on a team with the Rangers. Like I said, he fought Rita. He fought Zed for a while. And then you have to take in consideration the Gold Ranger powers themselves. These were powers that not just anybody could use. Yes, we all wanted Billy to be the Gold Ranger. There was a story about why he couldn't. But while Jason was able to take on the powers of the Gold Ranger, he also had to fight to maintain them. Because truth is, they were destroying him. And the powers would have been lost forever. But yet he held on. He fought to be a Ranger just like Tommy fought to be the Green Ranger for as long as he could. And that determination allowed him to become the White Ranger and so on. Same thing here with Jason. I'd like to believe that, yes, Billy had everything to be the Gold Ranger. And it was only some magic or science or something, I forget what it was, that prevented him. But by the same token, I don't know if he could have held on as long as Jason did, fighting to maintain the power. So, in my mind, if you're going to have another Ranger, if you got to have a Special Ranger, who else do you want to turn to if you can't have Tommy besides Jason? Jason's got the most experience. Jason is by far the perfect pick for this team. So that's why Jason as the Gold Zeo Ranger is my Special Ranger. Well, we made it. We are now at the leader of my Ranger team. So who is it? What Red Ranger have I chosen to lead this formidable fighting force known to one of all as the Power Rangers? I'm not going to beat around the bush. I chose Andros from In Space. Plain and simple, I think Andros is one of the strongest Red Rangers. Right off the bat, at the end of the series, he had to make the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate decision by being the one to kill Zordon so that his energy could purify the universe. Yeah, that's not an easy decision or easy cross to bear. But he did it because he knew it had to be done. But besides that, he was a Red Ranger fighting by himself. Though yes, he did fight with Zane for a while. For we don't know how many battles, how many struggles beforehand. And yes, you might be like, but Power Rangers are a team. It's working in unison. And yes, that's true. And Andros learned how to do that. Andros learned how to work with a team and be part of a team and rely on other people. Which not all leaders learn that. Sometimes leaders just automatically know how to do that. But Andros grew into that role. He allowed others to do what they needed to do. He trusted others to do what needed to be done as the series progressed. And yes, like I said, the Rangers are a team and they're meant to work together. But let's not discount how strong a person has to be to fight battles on their own, to deal with things that would make other people crumble. Again, you got to work together as a team. That is one of the messages of Power Rangers, and that's always been one of the messages. But let's not discount just how strong this guy was. Andros had a lot of personal demons as well. And for my money, sometimes the hardest battles to fight are your own personal demons, your own personal problems. And like I said, learning to work with other people can be a challenge all its own. But Andros learned and Andros grew, and Andros became a fantastic leader to the rest of the In Space crew. Not to mention, he had to fight Dark Spectre and his own sister. Now, I admit, this part might be a little biased because Astronema is one of my favorite villains in Power Rangers lore. But that only makes things harder and tougher when you know that the person you're fighting, the person that's giving you all these problems, is your own flesh and blood. I might not have a brother or a sister as far as by blood, but I am close enough with people, and I've got some very strong ties to a couple of friends of mine, that if we were on opposing sides, I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I could fight him. But Young Andros did what he had to do. He was courageous, he was strong, he was brave, he was loyal. He was everything a Red Ranger needed and should be. So that's why, for me, I choose Andros to lead my team.
And there you have it. My choice for the ultimate Power Ranger team. This is the group of Rangers that I want when evil comes my way. I want them protecting me, my family, my friends, my city, and my planet from the forces of darkness. Now, mine might not be the right one. Maybe there's something that I've missed about another Ranger that would totally make them deserving to be on this team instead. But that's where you come in. Like I mentioned in the intro, let me know down below in the comments who's on your Ultimate Ranger team, or why you think a certain member of my team isn't a good fit. But whatever you do, let's all be friendly. After all, we are one Ranger Nation. We all love this series. Many of us grew up with it. We all share a desire and love for this fandom. So let's all just, again, be friendly and courteous in the comments section. But like I said, let me know who's on your team. Who do you want protecting the world? If you want, go ahead and make your own rules. You don't have to follow the ones I did. But if you do, cool. That's great. Again, if for some reason you have forgotten who's on my team, we have Joel, the green Lightspeed Ranger. We have Maya, the yellow Lost Galaxy Ranger. Dr. Tommy Oliver, the black Dino Thunder Ranger. Billy Cranston, the blue Mighty Morphin Ranger. Jen Scott, the Time Force Pink Ranger. Jason Lee Scott, the gold Zeo Ranger. And leading this team, Andros, the In-Space Ranger. So, let me know what you think of it. Again, leave all your comments, thoughts in the comment section below. But like I said, let's be friendly and rangerly to each other. There's many more videos I've got planned for this 30th anniversary year. Many more to come. Hopefully I'll get them all done. But until the next video, remember, read what you love, enjoy what you love, and let's all work for a better fandom. And may the power protect you all.